You're listening to the Young Buck Old Buck podcast, presented by Forest and Sky, sponsored by Chops & Co. Public Market.
There we go. Heads up.
Touch him up. Dead bird. Dead bird. Get him, Sky. Get him.
Good job, buddy. Keep flopping.
Guess who's back again. Bruce and Daniel. Welcome back to the Young Buck Old Buck podcast.
Oh, man, it's good to be back in the house, but that rap career thing, I'm kind of glad it fizzled. But I like it. It's cool.
Bruce, we have had quite the past few weeks.
Yeah, since the last time we sat here, man, there is a lot gone down.
We apologize for the lack of the podcast. And honestly, we're just going to use this episode to catch up a little bit. Boy, do we have some stories. We have some laughs. Our heads have been spinning. And we're headed into some fun things, too. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So let's kick it off, Bruce. Let's rewind to 2 weekends ago. You and we were going to go fishing.
Yes, we were.
We had the boat in the driveway. We had it plugged in the day before. We had the rods ready. We set the alarm. What time did we get up?
Oh, it was early. I was here by 6.
Yeah, and I mean, sunrise, I think at that point was like 5:50.
Oh, yeah.
So we were just ready to rock and roll. And there was something in us. I forget what even happened that made us want to check the trolling motor.
Just check it. Check it before we go. Make sure everything's cool. So we checked the crank and battery. I said, well, let's check the trolling motor.
And
guess what? Didn't work.
The trolling motor. So, this is the first time in my life, though, that going fishing saved us $100.
It did.
100%. So we remembered that we bought the batteries at Walmart. And what kind of battery is that?
They're the EverStart.
Yeah, and they have a 1-year warranty. So Bruce and I, because we can't go fishing, decide we're going to go fishing for a new battery. So we go back to Walmart and we bring the old one back with us. And it turns out that the 1-year warranty expired like 4 days from when we were at Walmart that morning.
Epic save.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, so that timing was impeccable. But we still have yet to go fishing.
We'll get back to that.
We're going to take a pause.
We kind of focused on turkey hunting,
We did.
We kind of turned to that. Like, well, if we can't fish, let's figure out what we can do about a bird.
Yep.
A lot of other stuff went down between all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trying to think here. So we had the video with Keystone, and that's cool. That's now out on Keystone's YouTube page. You can check that out. We've shared it on our social media as well. And the dog stole the show. Who do you think?
Unbelievable.
Who do you think is cuter, Yellow Lab or me?
Do you want me to answer that? You're going to record my answer for the annals of time.
I had a young man over at my house staying this past weekend, and him and my daughter have a really great relationship. And Audrey was asleep, and this young man was going to leave before she woke up. And so I was like, all right, well, let's go wake up Audrey, and he can say goodbye to her. And so I woke her up. She was groggy, just completely out of it. And when she finally realized what was happening, she just leapt into his arms, gave him a big old hug, said, I love you. It was so good to see you. And so we get out of the room, and he is just a puddle because this 5-year-old girl is just sweet as pie, and he is just melting down the stairs. She's like, how does such a sweet little girl come from an ogre like you?
I don't know if you're old enough to actually rate ogre yet, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. That's a fact.
So some other things that have happened in the world, Phil Robertson passed away, and that was kind of a big one. I mean, he had been struggling for a while. We had the privilege, you and I, to hear Jace
That
preach
was
in
amazing.
person.
Yeah.
That was like an event put on by a local church, and he did a phenomenal job. So that was really cool. And I mean, were you ever a big Duck Dynasty guy?
I wasn't all in, but definitely a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and seeing Jace was a really cool deal. And I liked what Phil said about his death coming. I mean, he knew early on, and he said, "Don't mourn, don't cry, but dance."
Mm.
And I was like, man, wow. Those are some really strong words. Celebrate the fact that he knew he was going into the arms of his Savior.
Mm-hmm.
If I could emulate anybody in my life, be out loud with your faith has always kind of been my mantra. I'd pick Phil Robertson.
Yeah, he did a phenomenal job with that. He had the Unashamed podcast with his boys, Al and Jace, and that was always a phenomenal podcast. But, Willie tells a story about how they never even aired it on Duck Dynasty, but, they are trying to film the family around the table, and Phil prays out loud, "Lord, save these heathen cameramen and make them repent of their sins and turn to you." And he was definitely outspoken about his faith, so that was cool.
Yeah, I would urge people, if you don't know much about them, it's worth a little bit of a deep dive. I think the whole Robertson thing is a great story.
Have you watched the movie The Blind yet?
I have not. I have not.
I own that, so we should watch that together because it's really good. All right, some other news. One, we're trying out a new filming format for the podcast, so if you're tuned into the video, this is new. So we're going to see how this goes. But then we've also expanded the Forest and Sky operation. So Will and I, we met and talked, and we're continuing to expand the team. So now on the team we have Bruce, and then Carter and Mitchell. And I had a chance to meet with those guys a couple weeks ago, and just really excited about where we're headed and having some more kind of people on the ship to keep the ship going.
We're going to take him by storm, man.
Yeah, so it's been exciting. Both Carter and Mitchell, they also love the Lord, and they believe what we believe and are passionate about that, and they're talented outdoorsmen. Mitchell, he is the bow guy. He has a little bit of a bow shop in his garage, and he's passionate. Like he wants to jump, kind of head first in helping kids get their bows tuned up for free, and really just kind of going after that. So we're kind of taking a look to see how that would look. And Carter and Will, they go on a lot of adventures together out of state, and also here in Michigan, and so it's fun to have them on board and get some cameras in their hands and get to be a part of their adventures.
And I'll point out, they're all young guns.
They are.
Like they're all younger than you.
I know, they make me feel like the old buck, actually.
That place is taken.
Yeah. So how would that work? You would be like oldest buck, and then I'm middle-aged buck, and they're actually the young bucks.
Make you like a 3-year-old.
Hey, 3-year-olds are dandy.
Shooter quality.
Yeah, that's right. I'm in my shooting prime right now, ladies and gentlemen. All right, what else has been happening, Bruce?
What are we doing? We're celebrating. Well, we never really talked about it much going into the pod. When we were here with Dave Bunce 3 weeks ago, a couple days after that, Cindy had surgery for her lung cancer. We had it out on a prayer chain for our praying folks. We hadn't done anything on the pod about it, but she came through that with flying colors. So we're pushing on to the 3-week mark in her healing process. It's a lot slower than we anticipated, but she's better every day. Went back to driving a couple days ago. We've been blessed. Anna put together a meal train, and we've been blessed every other night. People bringing dinners to the house. huge relief for me that she doesn't have to endure my cooking every night.
Hot dogs and hot dog omelets.
Hot dog omelets. There you go. But doing really well. And we've just been overwhelmed by the outpouring of prayers and support and contact and flowers. Our place looked like a florist shop for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. He's not joking.
No,
I remember
it's not.
walking in the house and I couldn't even really see them because I get to look past
The bar top was completely full of flowers.
Yeah.
So it was really something, and we're just really thankful for the support. I mean, it makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to grind it out and get back to some kind of normal. She's going to be a couple more weeks. She's still struggling a bit with some pain, but doing a lot better. So.
And are you willing to share the good news you received this past week?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I should have maybe led with that. So that after surgery like this, they make you wait 2 weeks to get your pathology report. She had an entire lower lobe of her lung taken out, and they run it through pathology. And praise God, she came back cancer-free. Mm-hmm. No further treatment. They'll do a CAT scan in a year and maybe a year after that. But there was that kind of ominous cloud hanging over us of the potential of having to have, chemotherapy, which she has had before and endured it. But this one was going to be a lot tougher, or radiation or, immunotherapy or any of that stuff. It's really life altering. Mm-hmm. And just to get the news like you're cancer free was an amazing, the lifting of a burden. You didn't even realize how hard it was impacting you. You didn't realize how heavy it is to carry that every day, not knowing what's coming. So we really celebrated. I mean, there were tears and prayers and thanks at that news. So we're really grateful.
That's awesome. We're thankful as well. I mean, praise God for that. And we love Cindy, and we're glad that we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, we are, for sure.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back right after we hear from our sponsors.
We like to thank our sponsors, Chops & Co. Public Market. Chops & Co. specializes in locally grown, responsibly raised, high-quality pork products, direct from their farm to your table. Located in Jones, Michigan, give them a call at 269-244-1999.
And we're back. All right, let's get the show on the road here. It has been an incredible past 2 days in the Turkey Woods.
Incredibly frustrating, but incredibly fun.
Oh, my goodness. All right, Bruce, you were up to the plate. You were the batter in the box. It was the 8th inning. We were down by 1. Walk us through it.
Well, first, shout out to Will.
Oh, man, yes.
Because right out of left field, if we're going to stick with the baseball analogies,
Yep.
right out of left field, I just put it out there, okay, we're up for Monday. We had a couple of spots in mind. And Daniel reached out to Will, and Will said, I got you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be the eighth inning relief pitcher. Mm-hmm. And he served one up and put us on a spot that was mint.
Yes.
To say the least, mint.
We thought it was going to be an absolute bust for a second because, sun comes up, it's 20 minutes past sunlight, and we hadn't heard a gobble yet.
Well, they're sleeping in like it was raining or something. It was really kind of weird that we didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, it is what it is. I'm out in the woods. I'm having a good time, whatever. And then from across the road. And I was like, oh, he said they come across the road and they come in the vineyard. But then I heard from off my right shoulder. And I was like right behind us. Here we go. Yeah. And he was close. Yeah. And that might have been 2 birds. We were all talking. I think there was maybe 2 back there, but I think the one went to the other field. At any rate, how long did we work that bird?
Before we even started having our hearts race with like the thought of, okay, something might be happening. An hour and 15 minutes went by.
Yeah.
And we sat for a long time.
Yeah. So then, and I just remember about the time I'm ready to say, let's roll. I think it was right before that. You said, bird. You text me.
I texted you.
You texted me, bird. And well, you have to, it's hard to describe how the setup was, but I was in a position to look into this field we were hunting, and Daniel is set up with the camera where he can see back towards me, and he can see this little lane that goes into the vineyard that's on the next property. And he's got eyes on the bird that I can't see.
Yeah, basically there's a wall of trees between you and the bird, and I'm far enough down the lane that I can see past that wall.
He never, and he's gobbled, and I'm like, I never laid eyes on him, ever.
But I got some great footage.
Yeah.
Check the Instagram page. I dropped some footage from yesterday morning, which we'll get to in a second. But here in the next couple of days, I'll be dropping some of that footage as well.
So we sat on him for a while, but he would never come out of the vineyard, and he just kind of wandered away. And we finally were called, so we had to call it. But we thought, wow, what a great morning! It was fun.
Yep.
We didn't realize how much more fun we were going to have yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
So we decided we're going to go back out yesterday morning, same setup. Only I'm going to move my vantage point where I can see up into the lane where these birds come from the east out through this little vineyard. And same scenario. Sun up, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And finally a gobble. Well, I waited a long time before I ever hit the mouth call.
Well, and then you and I had talked before we even left that morning, and I said, wait, I'm gonna grab the box call. And you said, yeah, I grabbed mine too. That's a good idea. Because we knew we needed our yelps to be a little bit louder to really gain some interest.
Yep, and that worked to perfection. Because I really wanted to wait out. I wanted to hear a gobble and at least try to get a direction in mind, like what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we going to try to pull them across the road, or are they going to come back from this wood lot that's off to our east? And we finally got that first gobble. And, I mean, I think we could have made... He definitely responded really well to the box call.
Oh, yeah.
But I think whatever we called with once we had him fired up,
oh yeah,
it was on. That might be the most I've ever heard a rooster or a tom get fired up for as long as he was.
Oh,
it went
man.
on forever.
I have him strutting on camera for 12 minutes, and we had him talking 20 minutes before that.
Oh yeah, and so get this picture now. Now he presents, and he's just across the property line. And I'm not that guy. I don't shoot across the property line. And it was a little poke for my gun. It was a little bit far. I never did range it. Probably a good thing that I didn't range it, because I may have tempted myself.
Bruce's words to me earlier were, if he may or may not have had a certain gun from a certain friend, Ruben, there may have been a dead bird.
Yeah. So... I mean, I don't know. I sat in a ready position on that bird for the longest time. And in my mind, I'm going, Lord, please make him walk 4 steps to the left. And I mean, that would have been it. If he'd have taken 4 steps to the left, I'd have poked at him.
Mm-hmm.
But he just would not commit to coming out across that grass onto the field.
No, it was so weird. And let's talk decoys for a second. So on Monday, we set up a strutted Jake.
Mm-hmm.
And a non-strutted Jake over a lay down hen.
Yeah.
Yep. And we set that, what would you say, 15, 20 yards off the property line?
Yeah, we were probably closer that first day, yeah.
So then, obviously that didn't work. They the Tom came in but didn't really want to mess with the decoys. So then on the day 2, on Tuesday, I said, okay, let's do 2 hens and let's move them further away from the property line. And we moved them probably at that point 50, 60 yards from the property line, because we wanted the Tom to feel comfortable coming in closer to kind of check things out. And then I just kind of felt like late season, they really aren't up for any competition. They're beat up. They're tired. Let's get any male birds out of the picture. Well, that didn't work either. These birds just could care less about the decoys, to be honest.
I think he knew they were there. I mean, he definitely knew they were there.
Yeah.
And I just thinking if he's going to do anything, he's going to try to draw the hen to him. He's not going to that hen. Not doing it. You know, could the Jake decoy have had an effect on him the first day? I don't know. But hens the second day,
Right.
you know, same scenario. Only he did lock up in that area a bit better the second day.
Yeah, but again, he didn't want to come out of the vineyard, and he strutted for like 12 minutes and then turned around and started beating feet until we got him fired up again, calling.
Yeah. Because we backed off calling once we had him in sight like that. And he started kind of meander away through the vineyard towards the north, but he just kept firing up, gobble, gobble, gobble. He was gobbling and walking away.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty wild. And so here I am. I'm trying to keep the field glasses on him in the vineyard as he's going farther and farther away, waiting for him to please turn around. Please turn around. Please turn around. Till he finally drops out of sight in the vineyard. And I fan back with my glasses, and 30 yards out, I turn. There's a hen. There's all of a sudden there's a hen standing where there wasn't one like seconds before, and to the right is a Jake towering over her. So I'm right on his head when I fan the glasses over to him, and he's staring at me. He's just staring at me, and I'm going, oh, it's just a Jake. So I'm not going to shoot him because he's little gray tufty feathers on his chest, no beard. And I was like, oh, he has so busted me already.
Yeah.
And he like spun on one foot.
Oh my goodness.
And beat feet right back up the path. That was great.
Oh, he was out of there.
And the hen looking around going like, what's going on?
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I better follow him.
Clueless to the fact that he was on me. She had no clue I was there.
Well, and so from Will and I's perspective, you know, we're sitting down and we're slouched back and we're just, you know, face mask kind of down. We're pretty well covered. And we're starting to kind of talk a little louder, and we're like, hey, you know, that Tom, he's not coming in. Our hunt's probably done. What do you think? Should we get up? Yeah, let's get up. And then I do kind of one more pan. And then all of a sudden, these two birds are like full sprint into the field edge. And I was just baffled. And so I'm like, bird, 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 bird. And I think you even heard me go.
I did.
And then, you know, yeah, we kind of noticed what was happening. And I got good footage of those guys too, man. I'm excited to drop that in a reel or something, because especially the hen, I got some great up close footage of her.
I'd have liked to get a picture of my eyeballs when I dialed in on that Jake, because I think they bounced off the lens on my binos. Like, doink! Like, where did you come from? It was pretty comical.
Yeah,
but it made it fun. I mean, that was such a great way. Again, had to go, got to work. We had so much time allotted and had used up all our time. But what a phenomenal morning! You know, and I've always said, killing a bird it's almost anticlimactic till you experience, you know, sitting there at the ready on a bird that's in full strut, drumming, and just on. It is such a rush. Yeah, my heart was pounding.
I was shaking, and I was the camera guy.
Yeah.
Like, it is a good thing I had a tripod out, because once that bird came into full strut, gobbling and answering back, and it was game on, I just could not contain my excitement.
It was a rush. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. So again, shout out to Will, because he definitely hooked us up. We'd have gotten back in after him this morning, but schedule just didn't allow it. So he gets a pass.
Well, maybe next year he'll be, you know, even bigger.
Maybe.
And hopefully a little less smart.
Maybe.
Well, good. Anything else as far as catching the audience up with things that have been going on?
No, I think that covers the excitement of almost 3 weeks, actually. A lot of cool stuff. Getting ready for camp.
Yep. Summer camp's getting ready to fire off here. We had 40-some college students get in Sunday. They're doing training this week, and the Lord has just blessed us with some awesome young people ready to serve the Lord. And so that's a huge answer to prayer. And numbers are looking good for summer camp too. That's also a huge answer. So we're ready to do some ministry here coming up.
And the one thing that we didn't get to, we probably should cover shortly, is the great walnut shell incident of 2025.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Guys,
Bruce is still getting used to the microphone.
This new mic boom is really it's really messing with my jive here. So the Cliffs Notes, if we can do it, I stored Bob's boat in my yard for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Pontoon boat, wrapped, fully shrunk wrapped, the whole thing. Stored it behind the barn. It was great. Pulled it out a couple weeks ago. Last Friday, the kids come over with Daniel, and I hear him in the house. We're sitting in the house, and I hear ruckus in the yard. I go out, and Daniel's in the boat. And I walk out on the porch, and he's got the shrink wrap all off and laying on the ground, and he's standing ankle deep in walnut shells in the boat.
I still might have some repenting to do after that day.
I don't doubt it.
It looked so good from the outside. I'm thinking to myself, I'm just going to cut off this plastic, check the battery, check the fuel. We'll be ready to rock and roll. And I kid you not, we open up that boat, and I mean, I said it at church on Sunday. It's like every single walnut in Jones, Michigan was in that boat.
There was a suspicious lack of walnut shells in my backyard because they harvested all of them.
Yeah, and then just when I thought I got the boat cleaned out, I brought it over to our house, and my wife opens the what would you call that, like the center console cabinet?
The helm. There's a little hatch on the helm.
Yeah, she opens that hatch, and more walnuts pour out. It is. I threw out a false number, I guess.
You redid the math, and it's a lot closer to that.
Okay, all right. The number's in. 80 gallons. 80 stinking gallons of walnuts. Yeah, just picture that, everybody.
Chewed on. Every one of them chewed on. They were spent, used for food. They had literally had a condo at Cond for the winter. They had dry, and they had food,
cushions.
They ate the boat cover for dessert.
Oh my goodness!
It absolutely was the most remarkable thing. I mean, we were literally shoveling walnut shells.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was unreal. But you know what? I will say this: if I were to do that for anybody, it would be Bob and Nancy. They do so much for our family. So honestly, I joke about it, I complain about it, but I would do it 10 times over again for them because...
Without question.
Yeah.
Without question. It was almost a blessing to be able to take care of it and not have dumped on him.
Yeah, because they were out of town, so it worked out well.
Yeah. It was cool as it get the boat all ready for them when they get back.
Yeah.
And as far as I know right now, they haven't been out on it yet. I
Nope.
have.
Yeah, me too.
So,
a couple times, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, it was really cool. And what I really like about this whole, it kind of leads into where we're going too.
Yeah.
The boat looked great on the outside, and maybe it wasn't quite so nice on the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this Sunday morning we talked about Matthew chapter 15, verses 1 through 20. And it's the story of the Pharisees getting after Jesus and the disciples for not washing their hands before eating. And you learn the context of it. Of the Pharisees weren't actually worried about hygiene. They were trying to enforce these extra rules that they had put into place to try to keep up their appearance and righteousness from being defiled by the Gentiles and the uncleanliness and unrighteousness of the Gentiles. And man, Jesus just lays the smack down on them and really, really gets to what we would call the heart of the issue, and the fact that it's not about the surface level behaviors, But it's, let's not address sin on a surface level. Let's get to the root of the sin, the idols of the heart. And we talked about that. So, Bruce, what has stood out to you in that realm?
Well, man, if somebody presents that to you, like, what are the idols of your heart? You can't really take that lightly. I mean, that's some stuff where you got to slow down, take some time to be very introspective, and really, what are the controlling things in your life that are taking you away from your walk with the Lord? And it can be a lot of things, be it all kinds of different things. Everybody's list is going to be vastly different, but it's healthy to take that time and think about, okay, what am I doing with some of my time or some of my thoughts or actions that don't bring me closer to God, or take away that time when I could be in the Word or in prayer or whatever. And you can't. There's no bullet point list because it's pages and pages of stuff that things that draw away from you. But I just think in general that as a believer, you need to check yourself every now and then and see, what have I elevated in my life to idol status. Everybody says I'm a workaholic. I've been tabbed with that for my whole life, that I'm consumed by that. And I find that it's very true. And so that it is a distraction from a lot of things. It's cost me time with my family over the years and whatnot, but ultimately, I can think of too many occasions in my life where I've picked work over time with the Lord. So that's one of those things. You got to check yourself.
Yeah. And again, figuring out what is the root of that, and you can kind of use the fruit to root method. So, for example, like, say you're somebody who continues to struggle with anger. You respond to your family out of anger in an angry way, or you're short-tempered, or whatever it may be. Take that behavior, take that situation, that moment, and think, okay, that was the behavior. Now, what was the motive behind that behavior? Well, the motive was to express frustration for, something not going your way. Okay, well, what was the desire out of that motive? Well, the desire was control. And then, okay, so if the desire is control, then what really is the idol of your heart? Well, the idol may be control. It may be, you want things your way. And so I think it was Tripp, or maybe it was Edward Welch, that said, the idols of our heart is the result of something that we believe either false about ourselves or about God. And so the saying goes, we do what we do because we want what we want, because we believe what we believe. And so if, your idol is control, you may falsely believe that God isn't in control, and that, you have to take the steering wheel because he doesn't have it. You don't fully trust him having the wheel. And so, there's so many different idols. There's the idol of success, approval, fear of failure, reputation, significance, all these different idols. And you can take that kind of formula and really try to figure out, okay, what truly is the root of the problem? I mean, for me, I have this idol of approval. And there are so many times, even with a situation that you and I have gone through in the past 24 hours, where I've questioned myself, okay, how is my idol playing a factor into this? Well, how is this impacting my thoughts, my actions, and my attitude? And it's absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. It's like, who said it? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Ice Ice Baby, MC Hammer. Yeah. You got to.
Yeah, definitely.
Any final thoughts on that?
Just keep working it through. Man, if anybody's a work in progress, it's me.
I think we can all relate.
Amen.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in this week. Sorry it has been a few weeks until we've released an episode. We're actually not that sorry. We've been busy, and I'm sure you have too. But we're glad to be back in the saddle, and we're hoping to keep this up. And you know what is fun about summer is there's a lot more people that visit our area during the summer. So you can expect to see some guests on the podcast here in the next couple of months. And one thing I did forget to mention is we're actually headed to Total Archery Challenge this weekend. So we're going to get some more content, and we might even do a Total Archery Challenge episode with some of those guys. We're getting an Airbnb, and I thought about maybe bringing some microphones up with me just to kind of walk through some of that.
You should absolutely do that.
Yeah, it'd be cool. So you can stay in tune for that. But as always, like, subscribe, share, comment. All that stuff really helps us out. And then if you have any questions or remarks, you can email forest.sky.hunting@gmail.com. Again, forest.sky.hunting@gmail.com. And we will catch you next time.
Oh.